Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode number 70 of the Office Hours podcast. Today, we're happy to welcome back Mo into the big 7-0. That's exciting.
You know what? I live here now, Vasili.
Yeah,
Every
pretty
time you
much.
welcome me, but I'm here now. But
It's
I'm
true.
happy to be here.
It's
I'm
true.
happy
It's
to be
true.
here.
But it
Um,
doesn't even feel like that long has passed,
I
if you
know,
think about
I
it,
know.
right?
70,
I know.
you know.
It's crazy.
But yeah, we're on our way to 100. I
Mm,
can't wait for this 100. I feel like we need to do the 100 with a big grand style.
mm.
We need like champagne somewhere and some big whatever we need to do it anyway. We have time to we have time to
We
plan.
have time to prepare. Yeah, exactly.
We have time to plan. We have time to plan. How has your week been? How have it been?
It's been slow. For me, it's mostly Groundhog Day. Every day is
Yeah,
like every other
yeah.
day. Yeah, yeah.
And the weather is changing now, so we're having like spring coming. I
Yeah,
love it.
we
I
went on a
love
little
it.
walk and you can see the buds sprouting everywhere. I think it's gonna be green in
Oh,
like a week or two here. Easy.
I love
So
it. My favorite season of the year is spring. And I like the feeling of new things coming to life, like just going out there to see like the trees are coming back to life, like the fresh air, like
it's very
it was
exciting.
like
I agree with you.
yeah, I love it. So yeah, for me, I think this is one of the positives of my week. And although I haven't really got out much, to be
Mm.
fair, but I should. I just be sitting outside and breathing the air. It's nice to be able to even sit on your corridor or something. How do you say that? And just like enjoy the fresh air that comes with. Anyway, it's good. We have some positives. Well, straight into the conversation of today.
All right,
Yeah.
bring it on. Let's
Do
hear
you
it.
get nervous? Do you get nervous when I say this? When I say this?
Not really. I mean, so far there hasn't been too many questions where it's like, oh Jesus Christ, I don't even know what to say. So far, I have something to say. So I hope that today is not gonna be any different. I don't know, Mo. Surprise
I
me.
I hope people understand like these conversations are actually not planned. Like you have no idea
I
what
have
I'm
no
coming here
idea.
to tell,
Yeah, I have no idea.
coming here to talk to you about. And I hope you get enough credit for being able to actually participate in the conversation. Like you have no idea what I'm coming to when I'm coming to talk to you about. But um I guess it's a good thing. Yeah, and I hope you get enough credit for this. So yeah, shout out to you, Vasili. Big shout
Yes,
out to you.
yes. I demand credit. Give me credit.
Big shout out to you. Anyway, last week we were talking about like some things. We were talking about how personalities and like how to manage a team and stuff like this. And I wanted to check with you, like between last week and this moment, have you had some time to reflect on our conversation? Like, is there something that you feel you didn't tell me last week that you could have shared with me?
Hmm. Did I have something to say that I didn't last week? That's a good question. I haven't really had a chance to think about that. Um, yeah, probably not. Now I have to think really, really fast in order to come up with something. Um, so no, not really. There's probably a lot more to it, but it's kind of hard to come up with the thing completely on the spot without any sort of prompt or something like that.
Well,
I'm a lot more like ChatGPT myself. I don't really work well without a prompt.
fair enough. But have you actually tried ChatGPT now?
I mean, still not really. Although, like, we have a new director coming in to oversee the team as well, like my team as well as a bunch of others, and he's like super pumped on AI. So he's like, "Oh my God, AI this, AI that." So I guess we'll see. Maybe they'll force me to do it at work, and then I'll have no choice but to use it. But, so far, not really. I haven't
I
that
think
much.
you would like it. You know what? I feel like you like it. But anyway, you like it. What I was gonna help you with, like in terms of prompt, was like last week. I give you like a few rundown. We were talking about like how I was trying to learn from you, how you'd your approach to certain situation in terms of like leadership or like building a team or being in charge of certain things. And we're talking about like I was saying, for me, I used to feel like if I'm going to be in charge of a team, I would like to learn about each member of the team, their personality types, and
Yeah,
like
yeah, I remember.
how they work. And we're talking about how like this might be a bit too much um of a responsibility for one person to have, because depending on the size of the team as well, like you probably need to learn a lot of the people. So like it's you need to have a standard, and this standard should work in a way that we're talking about how far should you hold the standard as well. Like when do you start
Yes,
bending the
yes.
rules to accommodate certain people and certain things, and yeah, and also we got so far in our conversation. We were also talking about it in terms of like an actual team, like some of the things that you could let, bend the rules for, and some things that you just have to like stand your ground and be like, yeah, no, this is not good. We were using example as like coming late to work or like, like stuff like this. And yeah, so yeah. We talked a lot about all of these things.
We did, we
I was
did.
just curious. I was just curious, like between last week and this week, if you've had like a different way to see certain things, or because I've reflected on it on my own side, and
Hmm.
um I think there are certain instances where you have to. I'll use an example. Let's not use like work example. I'm gonna use a team example, like a football team.
Hmm. Of
Let's
which I know
say
very little, by the way.
with the hockey maybe.
Uh, Most sports, I mean, I wouldn't really know.
Okay,
So you'd have to explain it to me.
okay. In a football team, you have 11 players, right? 11 footballers in different departments. Some are defenders, some are in the midfield, in the middle of the pitch, and some play like upward, up front. Some they have different responsibilities, but sometimes you have like some people who are actually like the star players of the team. Like they're star players because they are good and they actually get the crowd to come to watch the game. So a good example would be like Cristiano Ronaldo. I probably like it's a big name.
Hmm.
I hope you know
He
him.
certainly has
So
a big draw.
yeah, you know. So if you have a Cristiano Ronaldo on your team, how do you manage this person when they're actually defaulting your standard? Say like you are the kind of person everybody knows, like, oh yeah, Vasili doesn't take this kind of personality. Like this kind of behavior doesn't work with Vasili.
Mm,
He's gonna say something. But your
right.
Cristiano Ronaldo seems to be the one to be defaulting now. What do you do?
Well, isn't he like pretty chill guy though?
I don't know. I've never met him. I don't know. But I hope he is.
Yeah, I yeah, it's hard to say. See, the thing is that yeah, when was the last time when I had like such a big personality that was like kind of doing whatever, sort of demonstrably ignoring the rules and doing whatever? I think that this in software is probably like an echo of the bygone era, like maybe the early 2000s. The whole concept of like a rockstar developer who's like hot as shit ever and just does whatever, and but he's like so good that everything or most things are sort of forgivable. I really haven't seen that one and encountered that in a really long time. I don't even know if that's a reality today, so I don't know if we can make that
Hmm.
comparison necessarily. I think it's like way
Why is
more.
that? Why is
Well,
that?
I think mostly I don't know. Overall, there's been like a big culture shift overall, and sort of the big boisterous personality is no longer in favor across a lot of different things. As per why is that? It's hard to say. Yeah, maybe probably the influence of HR. HR is comprised mostly of women, and they want everything to be kind of like chill and even. And boisterous personalities don't really fit well into that model, especially the disruptive and kind of brazen and harsh and all of these things, like direct, calling things by their name, like all of those things are now being considered as some sort of bullying, whereas before it would just be like a nature of having sort of harsh but fair type personality on your team. Now it's like, oh my god, why you bully me, you know? So these behaviors are not as tolerated overall, and I think they kind of went a bit to the background. So maybe that's why. Could be one of the reasons anyway. So yeah, it's really been a while since I've seen something of that nature, and I haven't really been in that position myself either. I always try to be considerate of others. So yeah, I don't know if I can contribute much on this specific question.
No, say maybe I should paint the picture differently. Cristiano Ronaldo is not coming late. This is not Cristiano Ronaldo's problem. Cristiano Ronaldo on this team, let's say we have on our team, because I'm also in this team, you're in this team, and you're the team lead. On our team, Cristiano Ronaldo tends to like do certain things, like write certain things in the code. And if you really put it on a scale, it's not the end of the world. But when you're talking about it in terms of like best practices, right, it's questionable, you know? And he's Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, maybe I should use that name.
I think that maybe that example, like the comparison itself, isn't really the most what's the word, accurate, because ultimately for them the goal is to fill as many seats in the stadium. So any sort of crazy antics, as long as you know nobody gets grievously injured and the rules are mostly followed and people have fun observing it, it's a spectator sport. It's for the benefit of the spectator. Like, I mean, fair enough, they kind of judged by overall number of goals they score or how many they miss, right? Or how many they do not defend against. So obviously there's like a lot of stats and math and all that Moneyball type stuff going on for sure. But ultimately they make their money from butts and seats and people buying merch, right? So they need this one big personality on the team to kind of make it happen. However, for us, our output is not, we're not being compensated in terms of like who's the most outrageous person and does the craziest stuff, right? It's by the actual product we produce. So I think
it should be goals. Which could be considered as goals here. The number of goals is
yeah, but nobody's really like observing how we do it and cheering for. Like the customer never sees how the sausage is made, yet they be horrified.
What I'm saying is like, so say, for example,
it's not like somebody's paying. I don't know how many people pay for Basecamp because it's written by DHH. But they're actually paying for it because they actually use the product, right? So the star power of getting people to pay for your product is very much diminished compared to like a spectator sport thing, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, this is on the output side. I'm talking about like internal. We are on the team now. Like the customer is not here. We're not even at the customer level yet. I think maybe I should not use Cristiano Ronaldo. Let's just say the person you consider, because in every team there will be someone as a team lead, I imagine, that you consider as the most valuable person on the team.
Mm, I don't think that that's like there certainly is a person for whom the buzz factor is very high, but to say that they're the most valuable person on the team,
Do you never feel like this?
well, I mean, I've seen people with a lot of sort of institutional knowledge. They move on, and somehow there's a short transitionary period, and then everything continues. So if you think that you leave and everything will fall apart, yeah, no, likely not.
Of course. Yeah,
So
of course.
with that in mind, it's kind of hard to say like, oh, this person is such a rock star, or they know so many things that we don't, because ultimately in this business, everything is discoverable. It's nice not to have to spend time on it because somebody already knows and you can just go and ask, but ultimately you can go in and figure it out. So no one is truly irreplaceable. And I think that also tempers people's sort of personalities in a way, because it's like, if I don't know which club Ronaldo is playing currently, but he probably knows fair to well that if they get rid of him, it's going to be really bad for them, right? But on a software team, they can get rid of pretty much everyone. It's just like, if they can swap people one at a time and give the transitionary period for the team to kind of readjust. But if they drop a whole bunch of people at once, that's when they're going to have problems, because then it's really hard to, like, if you lose several people at once, that's when it's really tough to kind of for people to figure stuff out. Because if you're brand new and you just dropped into a brand new code base and a brand new architecture without anyone there to actually tell you what's going on, the amount of time it's going to take you to figure out is like orders of magnitude more.
Okay, let me give you more backstory about the Ronaldo comparison.
Okay.
Ronaldo played in England. He left his team. The team struggled for a bit, but they got good. They're okay, decent.
Mm-hmm.
Then he played in Spain for his team. And when he left, they struggled a little bit, just like you said, like in a team. So it's kind of like similar to what will happen in our own team. Say, for example, if you get up and leave your team right now, I imagine like there will be like some. Could that be like you are the Cristiano Ronaldo of your team?
No, I would not say that.
Okay.
That would be too presumptuous.
But yeah, so I'm saying, like, the question I'm asking really is like, I would like to know, first of all, if it's okay. The question A is like, if it's okay for managers or people who are in charge of other people, like a group of people, to have like someone they consider to be like the most valuable member of the team. Personally, I think this is once you start to feel like this is a pointer to let you know that something is going wrong in this team. Because if you have just one person that you consider to be the most valuable person, ideally, everyone should have the weight distributed in a way where like the contribution is done as a team, not one person, you know? But I want to know if you see it like this, or like you think like somehow it's like having children. I feel like at some point you have a favorite.
Who's your favorite child?
You probably have a favorite. Maybe the person who does things more, or like maybe the person who is more available, or like the person who reasons
No,
along
no, no.
with you
I see
more.
what you mean. I think that, well,
Yeah.
there's clearly there's gonna be people who know more. So if we just go by like the amount of knowledge lost if they move on for any reason, there's certainly gonna be people who know a lot, and it's really hard to know everything about everything. So people still gonna be specialized in their own domains. With that, like the further out they go away from their core competency, they will still know quite a bit, but just not as much. So like, for instance, the project that I'm working on sort of every day, I know it throughout like the whole thing. But as I start venturing out toward like the systems we interface in, I know enough about it to kind of interface with them, but not really that much more. Like I know the architecture of like the grand scheme architecture, but I'm not focusing on the architecture daily, so I'm aware of it, but I don't have as intimate of a knowledge of it as the project that I'm working on, obviously. So, and then within the team, I think like the junior developers, they're gonna have intimate knowledge of a smaller portion of the thing that they most frequently work on. They might not have the knowledge of the entire system because, you know, they kind of like work on spots. You know, this sprint they get assigned tasks in this area of the code base. Next sprint they get assigned tasks in that area of the code base. So they kind of like poke around here and there and everywhere. But usually from what I've seen, mostly judging by the kind of questions they ask, especially like once they switch from one area to the other, they start asking questions about it. I'm like, okay, well, it's clear by the questions they ask that they don't fully understand what's going on, which is fine. But it just kind of like the more senior you are, the more knowledge about the thing you have to have, right? You can get away of not knowing like what 75% of your application does if you're a junior, but if you're a senior, you probably don't have too many excuses. And then as you go to higher levels, then obviously that expands even further to like all these external systems.
So for example, your senior dev, the person you consider to be the senior on your team right now, right? Let's say, yeah, in one of their PRs, let's say they did something that you consider to be like a cardinal offense, because you have some guidelines.
Right.
Every frameworks right now, they have like style guides or whatever. Like
Yeah.
some guidelines. And you see that maybe they did something in the PR that probably could affect like performance or like stuff like this. But you see, it's not like the end of the world, because let's say it's something like they put an array indicator or something like this, like something that could be, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's just something that could be optimized, right?
Yeah, well.
And you're seeing them do it like once or twice, and then there is a junior guy, or like any other, it's not even a junior person, like there is someone else on the team who equally has like experience, and this person on the team is saying like, no, we shouldn't do this, and it's calling him out. But this is who you think is the most senior person on your team and should have the experience. How do you handle this type of situation?
Well, I mean, there's usually code review, and two episodes ago we talked about that. By the time you realistically reach a senior level, and not like today, like where you can work on something for 3 years and then all of a sudden you're a senior, but in a more kind of concrete way, the more understanding and humility you should have about the things that you do. So if somebody points out something that is kind of ridiculous, if you're a good senior, you should consider and be like, okay, I think that is fair enough. Right? So like you're sort of posing this question saying that, oh, if somebody points out to the senior, he's gonna like throw a fit and tantrum and start screaming and like calling everybody names.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Let's say this happened. Like now, instead of the senior to accept it, this is where I'm trying to paint a picture for you, because I'm trying to understand how to manage this type of scenario. I saw it somewhere and I saw how it was handled. But I am feeling like I probably might do something different. But then again, this is just me. I'm the same person who thought like I could actually like understand everybody's personality, like I'm their therapist or something. but yeah, so I think maybe this is just me, So I want to know, how would you approach this kind of thing? Someone that you have this high expectation of in your team, then starts to like default in terms of like quality, and instead of them to actually acknowledge this quality, now they defend it and be like, oh yeah, performance is not a problem in this kind of case, like, and be like, yeah, we don't have to care about performance. It's okay. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I
Do you
mean,
call them in? Do you call them in and deal with it, or you deal with them in the group?
well, first of all, you probably don't want to, air out dirty laundry in public, first of all, right? Like, if you're going to be criticizing somebody, you have to do it in private, because otherwise, they lose face and feel disrespected and all these other things. So, like, just under any circumstances, unless that's your goal deliberately to do that, like, don't do that to people in public. And I mean, granted, like, not YouTube, like, GitHub comments are kind of a public place in a sense, but you can still word things in a way where, you could say, oh, we are concerned about implications of this and that. And the interesting thing is that they could be right in a sense that, like, in this particular case, it will not cause performance issue because this is a low traffic area that doesn't load more than like 100 items from some database at a time. And with these kind of numbers, this approach is perfectly valid. The counterpoint to that is it's not this specific implementation, it's the pattern that they establish. Right? And the pattern that they establish is going to get copied someplace else where it could cause performance issues. And so it's like this big balancing act of what do we allow under the circumstances. And if you worked in any sufficiently large code base, you will see that there's like so much half-baked stuff in there that, again, so I think there's like two separate threads in this conversation. One, there's like this interpersonal of like, if like a grown adult throws a tantrum because somebody left a meanie comment on their merge request, that's like one thing. But then the second one is like the actual technical aspect of what should be considered acceptable or not under what circumstances. So addressing the technical side, it really depends on your constraints and deadlines. And a lot of times crappy stuff still gets in. And as you said, like, it might not even be crappy. It has potential for problems in the future, but that future is yet to arrive. And in theory, even though I rarely seen it work, you can create a ticket to fix the problem and put some to-do comment with the ticket in there directly so that when people go near it, they kind of see. But in my experience, those rarely get prioritized. And by the time somebody gets to it, all of the context of why it was bad is probably already lost. Because when you're looking at it right there and then, a lot of things may seem obvious, but the amount of effort it would take to write a ticket that explains all of the implications is probably more than just fixing the damn thing. So if you're under time constraints at the time, you don't have time for either, right? You can just say to do, fix this because it sucks. Here's the Jira ticket number. And then 6 months down the line, some unfortunate soul will look at it and be like, I have no idea what they had in mind for this. It looks okay to me, right?
And just delete it.
And just like either delete it or close it, be like, won't fix. And maybe it hasn't caused any problems. And maybe, all of that code is going to go away anyway. So who cares?
Yeah. I mean, so I think this will be like a solution to the actual problem, like in terms of code wise, like for sure, like we could pen down like the problem and try to solve the problem. But so yeah, like in my story, I was painting the picture of like a personality thing, like someone actually acting like this, and them not trying to take like
right.
responsibility because they feel like they should know, like they are expected, like they are held like in like with like a lot. I don't know how to explain it. Like in certain teams, like you said, it's been a long time that there has been like
It's been a
star
long
player in the
time.
team.
I think that those type of behaviors are actually very dysfunctional. Like, if somebody starts throwing a fit because of an MR comment, then there's like deeper issues, I would say.
Really? What do you
Yeah.
consider to be the issue? You know what? I would like to know about this. Like what when say like you give like reviews, I mean some of the things I think might be the issue will probably be like maybe like confidence, like what's that word now? You're afraid of being wrong, like
Mm.
you are
Oh,
into
imposter
public
syndrome,
place.
you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like this. But what do you consider to be like the issues when you give someone a review and then they throw
Well,
tantrums
it could
about
it
it?
could literally be so many different things, right? It might nothing to do with the work at all, you know. Like I don't know. Imagine that, you know, you sit down with your girlfriend for dinner that she cooked and you say, "Oh, I think it's like over salted just a tad," and she just like
Oh,
starts throwing plates and
oh,
everything and like smashing the furniture. Clearly, it would be like, okay, there's some deeper problems here that we have to figure out, because the dish itself is not the problem, right? And the amount of salt is not the problem. There's like a bigger problem to be had
yeah,
somewhere out there.
yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough.
So that, like, and those circumstances can be so unique. This is
Hmm.
where I guess you have to be, you know, the know them better than their therapist in a way.
I guess.
And
I
that
guess.
is why, well, normally that is why one-on-ones were invented, because usually
Um.
stuff like this will probably manifest itself in a one-on-one way before, granted that it needs to be done properly. Because if there is some sort of dissatisfaction or some kind of heavy topic or something problematic, it's not like we're gonna be like, "Oh, hey Mo, welcome to our one-on-one. Like, tell me all the nastiest
Mm,
things that have been going through your head for like the last 2 months." And you just like, "Okay, well, let me tell you everything about how I feel about this guy and that guy, and he's such an asshole and he's such a jerk." It's like,
mhm,
no, there's gonna be like an hour of void
mhm,
before a person is a mind space to actually start even getting close to that topic, right?
mm,
And um, your job in that case would be to kind of look for signs that there is some kind of problem and kind of try to figure out what it is. Maybe it has nothing to do with work. Maybe there's something happening to the family or something. Somebody's very ill, whatever. And it preoccupies all of their time and they're very stressed. And any tiny little thing just kind of, you know, the straw that breaks the camel's back, so to speak. Um, so there's no universal answer in this case. Or a person could
mm.
just be a douchebag. That's also possible. But in that case, that behavior is going to be very consistent. It's not just going to be this out of nowhere type thing. It's just going to be a consistent thing. And then if you choose to continue to work with these people, well, wah wah.
Yeah, so I thought that what you're sharing with me now, I think it sounds like there are times when you need to be the therapist, and there are times when you need to hold the standard up. I guess maybe this is what I was driving at, because I wanted to know how you handle this, the whole like star player thing in the team. And from what I'm learning from you now is that I think you're suggesting that you would talk to the person and you would try to understand how, like in your conversation, like in a one-on-one, you probably try to understand like what's going on with them and like why they act like certain way that doesn't really fit. By the way, do you have how do you feel about culture fit in a team?
Well, it's quite important. Again, going back to some of the teams that I worked with years ago, where there was just like such a massive clash of personalities. There was like a toxic cesspool that was really difficult to work at. It was like draining, you know. So if you don't have that, um, it's just gonna create friction everywhere where there needs to be none. And like, why would you want that in your life?
Just for for me and for everyone else watching, um, how would you define like culture fit? What is culture fit, even?
Well, I don't know. It's a good question. And I think that my perception of it right now is slanted quite a bit because I've been working remote for like the last like 6 years. And out of those 6 years, probably 4.5 have been where I never met any of the people I work with face to face besides like Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, because that makes the communication very limited, and the context of those communications is also very limited. So it's kind of hard to form that because there's just a lot of stuff missing from the picture compared to when like you are in the office. And I think that right now, I guess the conversation kind of pivots away a little bit, but I had this thought of right now, if you're working remote in a team where most of the people work physically present together, I think you're at a big disadvantage overall.
Can you explain that, please?
Well,
Like, what does that mean?
just because to them, you are way more abstract than everybody that they say hello to every morning in the elevator. You're just like a voice, a disembodied voice on a screen. And it's I think it psychologically, it pushes you out more. I feel like you're less of an in the in group. You're kind of like, because you're just, again, you're like this disembodied voice that's out there somewhere that everybody hears at daily stand up and a couple of meetings here and there, but otherwise you like do not exist. You're there on Slack messages, but it's very like impersonal and abstract.
But even at this, do you think we no longer have culture in the teams anymore?
Oh, no. I think there's still culture in the team, but how to say that? I think it's just like the areas where those intersections happens is so much smaller. Because you communicate with your team through commits and MR comments and Slack messages. Right. So there's just such a huge chunk, like, because sometimes when you work in the office, you can like look at somebody and kind of see where they're at, like, oh, they're like super focused, they're working really hard or something, or they're like very puzzled, they're like trying to crack something and can't figure it out, and like all of these other things that you would just pick up like that are gone. Not gone, they're not they're like missing for the person like on the other side. So you kind of by definition becomes the person on the other side, right? And so that kind of, I think it shifts the balance away from you in a way.
Do you know the reason why I wanted to talk about culture fit is because I've had the opportunity to work in like a few different teams, and when I do like a reflection of this, I think each one of them have like different types of characteristics. For example, there was a time I was working in a team where like there was a lot of young people, like mostly people fresh from school or stuff like this. And if I compare that with when I worked in a different team that had like more for, I don't know how to describe it, more mature people, like,
Well,
grown men.
they have different concerns in their lives compared to people who are fresh out of school. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a different kind of culture. Like in this team, and one big difference would be like in the younger team, there was a lot of like, um, it wasn't competition exactly. It was like you want to impress. There is a need to impress. There is a need to impress.
Was it mostly guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was mostly guys. We had like in the team there was like maybe 5 guys and 2 girls,
Mm-hmm.
or 6 guys. Honestly, I don't remember. But yeah, it was mostly guys. But there was a need to like, maybe because it was mostly guys.
Yeah. There's definitely, I mean, you know, it is a thing. I mean, like when people say that is like more difficult for women to be in engineering, they're not wrong, partially because like the guy culture is just a different culture. So, and if they're in a minority, they have to fit in, and it's difficult because it's kind of goes against your nature. Because like the bravado and one-upmanship and like teasing and like just giving each other shit all the time, that's like typical of male environments in a way. So if you're in that environment and you're not a dude, you're gonna have harder time fitting in. Fair enough.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like there were
But like
maybe
even without that aspect, I mean, it's true to some extent, but there's less of it now. Definitely, because we've had mixed teams for years and years and years now. Obviously, all the ultra progressives are screaming that it has to be 50-50, otherwise it doesn't count, which I think is really silly. But so it's not there, even though they like force it really hard. It doesn't always work, but it's much milder now compared to 20 years ago, that's for sure. But the other thing is just aside from that whole thing is that when you're communicating face to face in terms of the culture and in terms of the fit, you don't just spend your time working on like work. You still go to lunch together and play ping pong and maybe hang out, maybe like go for drinks after work or something. So there's that entire slice of things that happens where you get to know people better. And then you have like various in-jokes and internal memes and all these other things that the outsider probably would have no idea what that means, but that gives you a chuckle every time. When you were talking about like working with a bunch of young people, I remember this thing where we had like a chat, and we had some guy from a different team. He was like a younger guy. He was like kind of dressy in a way. And I just remember typing the word hype beast into the chat, and then everybody kind of starts giggling because we have like that internal joke. You just don't get that if you're not there presently. And the culture fit would be like we had that conversation about like how much do you need to pretend to be somebody else to fit in with the group. So the culture fit is going to be the difference between your true self and like how much you need to pretend to be somebody else. Like if they're close, so you don't have to pretend all that much and you just fit in as you are, that's a good culture fit. If you have to struggle really hard and try to pretend that you're something you're not, then it's probably a poor culture fit, and that'll contribute to stress, and that'll contribute to you one day throwing a tantrum because somebody left a meanie comment on your pull request.
You know what? This is a very good definition of it. Like, if you don't have to pretend as much. But, quick question. Is everyone not pretending? Is everyone, because, I mean, maybe this is a weird way to ask it, but sometimes when I'm in like work functions, I've seen people at work functions act a certain way, and I've seen them outside of work function in an actual different environment, and they live a very the way they actually socialize is different.
Yeah.
So
no,
now,
that's perfectly normal. I mean,
is this
Well,
It
you
is
have to
tough.
be. You have to be. I don't think that this is pretending as much as it is just like a contextual personality thing. You know,
Fair enough.
like
Fair enough. Fair enough.
the kind of jokes you tell to your friends, you're not gonna tell to your mom, likely.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
I don't know. Did you ever see that video where it's like one of those shorts where like a guy and a girl are in the car driving, and the girl is like giving him grief, and it's like, every time your friends call, you always tell them that I'm in the car with you, and it's like, why is that? Like, are you hiding something?
Oh,
And he's
exactly.
right, because you're like, oh, you know, so and so is with me, and it's just like,
Disclaimer, please.
yeah, disclaimer, exactly. And then it's like, okay, call your best friend right now, put him on speakerphone, but don't tell him I'm here. And the guy's like, oh, well, you asked for it. So he calls his friend and is like, what's up? What are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just by myself driving. And the guy's like, well, your girlfriend's not with you? He's like, no, she's not with me. And he's like, dude, I just took such a massive shit. I'll send you a picture. And the girl is just sitting there like this. It's like, well, you asked for it. You know, you ask for him to behave like he does with his guy friends with you. And now you're all surprised. So, like, it's certainly there. But again,
True.
because it requires a certain amount of effort to maintain that, like, if it requires a lot of effort to maintain that, that's the whole thing. Like, that's the whole distance between pretending and not pretending. Maybe it's not like pretending part, it's just like how much effort does it require for you to be in that state.
Fair enough. You know what? I remember, like, when I was working in the younger team, it was a new culture for me. First of all, being in this environment was like even a different culture for me. Like, I was coming from a different country, and like now having to be with people. One of the things that I had at the time was like I wasn't as blended as I am right now, you know. Then I was very direct. Like, if I think um if I think you're crazy, I'm probably gonna call you like, yeah, the crazy one. You know?
See? But then there was HR, and you're like, I shouldn't call him that because I'm gonna get in trouble.
You know what? I wasn't even. I mean, I didn't think it was a trouble thing. I was just really direct, you know, like that. And this is part of my culture, like where I come from. Like, this is a thing. So I remember one time I had a conversation with the CEO, and we were talking about like, oh yeah, I heard some reports, like some people felt uncomfortable about some comments that you made, or like some of the things you said. Oh, and then I was wondering, like, oh, bro, we laughed about it, we moved on, and life has continued. So after
It could have
after
been
that,
it could have been a third party that was not even part of the conversation too. But I was just
true.
thinking that, you know, if you come from a how should I put it? I guess to put it bluntly, like, if you live in a country that is like poorer compared to, I don't know, like USA, for instance, or Canada even, it's just, there's no luxury, I guess, to be concerned about people's feelings as much when you need to get shit done over there, because there's more at stake. But here, where life is mostly easy compared to, again, to some other country that doesn't have as much money and power and resources as Canada or United States, it's like, well, damn, life's too easy for you. So a lot of really trivial stuff is gonna kind of affect your mood in a much more drastic way, because you're just like, the spectrum of what is considered like as soon as you lean on either side of this very narrow band of emotional comfort, people are going to get offended or triggered or whatever. Whereas over there, you have to deal with situation like over here, and you have to deal with situation over there. So it's much harder to phase you out of that state.
Yeah.
So that's just the nature of where you are, I would imagine.
I'll give you an example. Of something I said that got me in trouble. It wasn't even what I said. It was probably my accent at the time, because I saw someone at the kitchen. You know how like you do. I saw someone in the kitchen, right? And it was kind of chilly, like outside. So she was wearing a shirt sweater,
Mm.
you know. So I said, "Oh, that's a shirt sweater." That's what I said. What she heard?
I heard it
what,
too just now, so like I'm not surprised.
what she heard? What, what she heard was like, "Oh, it's a shit sweater," you know. So, that, that got me in trouble, and I had to explain myself, you know. But the good thing is, one thing I learned from this situation was how the CEO handled it. He called me into the office, like we talked about it, and he explained to me that, oh yeah, like I know everyone is from a different place, but you need to understand when you are in a team like this to fit in, you know, to be able to, like, there is a culture here and like how people do. Anyway, he recommended a book to me, and the book was How to Win and Influence People. I don't know if you know this book.
Dale
Carnegie, is
Carnegie?
it?
Yeah, no, I know that
Yeah.
book.
So I mean, I learned a lot from this moment, and I feel like um I have really like learned a lot about this kind of thing, like being able to fit. I wouldn't say like it's the easiest thing to. I just feel if you are somewhere, you have to learn how people do things, and then you try to um, even if you want to impress your own personality on the team or like in the environment, at least wait to see how people do things here first before getting in there. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
this is what I
yeah.
learned.
You
This
have
is
to
what
you
I
have
learned
to
from this
probe
moment.
where the boundaries are and how far into them you'll be allowed to cross. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
that's what makes it so kind of unique and interesting. In every different team, there's gonna be like different things. Although I guess in a corporate scenario, there's much less of that. It's all very homogenized because, you know, all the HR, they all read from the same playbook, so they kind of set up the same sort of ideas everywhere. So like if you're in a small startup where you don't have any HR and you could literally do whatever the hell you want, it's going to be a more authentic atmosphere than in some,
Yeah.
corpo type establishment where somebody's going to be clutching their pearls and wagging their finger at you all the time.
Yeah, fair
Uh,
enough.
well,
I guess also like maybe this can also say like if there is someone in your team that you feel like it's not culture fit, you know, maybe talking with this person could actually help because I can say like I mean I didn't end up spending a lot of time there. I actually like had to move on with my career, but um I learned about how to actually be in this team
yeah.
because then I understand what the
Interestingly
culture
enough,
was.
interestingly enough, it is highly likely that there's going to be people who are like more on your wavelength about these things.
Yeah.
And if you catch them outside of work in a different context
Hmm.
and kind of make fun of the situation, they probably will know exactly what you mean and they'll have fun with you. But in that context, they'll like never admit to it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's just that I think that there's certainly when the one thing with culture, and especially like the corporate culture, is that it involves a lot of self-censorship about things that you wouldn't think you have to censor yourself about.
Hmm.
And the problem,
Mm.
what the environment that creates is that you feel like you're the only one who has to do that, and everybody else is just like this perfectly aligned individual that like plays by the rules all the time. But most of them are in the same boat as you. You just can't really let it be known because everybody's afraid that you like if I show my true self, then
Mm.
I'm gonna get in trouble. So you have to catch them off guard by going for drinks after work and kind of talking shit about it so that everybody can have fun. And then you have
Mm.
like a co-conspirator in a sense where you know that internally they're like cringing and laughing about the same things that you are. You're just not supposed to show it in the work setting, and that's okay. You can always
By
just
the way,
send them a private chat on WhatsApp and be like, get a load of this guy, So
do you feel like making friends at work in the because like I've worked with certain people that I consider as my friend now, right? But what would you say about this?
well, we had a whole episode about friends at work, which not many people have watched apparently compared to other ones.
Yeah.
So there's plenty there. And I don't think we have time for it right now, but I say you still need to make your time there pleasurable in various ways. So if you find maybe not like friends, like best friends, but you can find your co-conspirators that you can share spicy memes with and they'll laugh on them. That's a good thing.
Good point. Good point. Well, thank you, Vasily. It's been a very interesting conversation so far. I've updated uh, my data bank, like my my knowledge of certain things in certain situations, and I appreciate your time,
Yeah.
Vasily.
It would be interesting to kind of get somebody else's opinion on this. Because, I mean, so far
All right.
it just also has been just the things that I've witnessed myself. So I can't
You
I
know
can't
what?
claim them to be gospel, It's just my view of how these things have occurred in front of me. And somebody could be in a completely different situation. So, that would be interesting. Because there's
I
there's
think we should
tons
be
there.
comments.
Hmm?
Yeah, we could wait out on like the comments and like
Yeah, yeah.
let's see
We'll know in the
what.
comments eventually.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, kind of going back to the whole 70th episode, um, I started thinking recently that even if not too many people end up watching this, which is fine, it would be interesting to come back to it like 10 years down the line and reflect on like the predictions and how many of them actually came true or not
You know what?
from a historical
Yeah,
perspective. That would be pretty
yeah,
interesting. Like, was I
yeah.
full of shit on AI completely, or was I right? Who knows?
I'm really waiting on this one. This one, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the day you tell me, like, yeah, finally you try ChatGPT and, like, oh, yeah, maybe it's not so bad. Because, well, life is moving, basically, and things are changing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they, they're moving very fast. And it's life. It's just technology used to be like different. We used to write codes differently, and now we write it in a fancy IDE. We write it now, and the IDEs we even have some IDEs with ChatGPT. I mean, whatever AI is in the IDEs now. So like, life is moving. So why not? But I'm looking forward to this. One day, one day.
one day. Nah, we'll see. Maybe one day. Well, to everyone that's watching, thank you so much for being with us. If you've been in a team with a weird culture, leave a comment. It would be interesting to hear about other
Mm-hmm.
people's experiences in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we'll see you in the next one. Have a good night and bye bye.
Bye.